Hey guys, and welcome to a special edition Hoops Lounge NBA Draft Edition. Myself, Phil Boileau, and Justin Rowan. Justin, just introduce yourself because I always botch your name and I don't want people getting it wrong. How do you properly pronounce your last name for everyone out there?
Justin Rowan. Rowan,
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for joining us. We're going to be covering the entire draft process for the. We'll hit the lottery there, and if we want to do a few more, we'll go. But we're going to hit the big names. So it starts in about 25 minutes. So there's been a lot of talk on the landscape. Now, Justin is perfect for what's about to come up. Kevin Love just opted out of his deal. There's, talk LeBron might do the same. Justin, what's your gut feeling what's happening with Cleveland right now? Because everyone's wondering where the Love's going.
Well, one thing is very clear, and that's that the Cavs and Kevin Love are on the same page. David Griffin had a press conference last week where he said that he fully expected Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, and LeBron James to opt out. Now, Smith and Love have opted out. James is expected to opt out early next week. It's a financial decision. That's the first thing. According to Woj from Yahoo, the Cavs are the front runner still and have no concerns about whether or not Kevin Love will return. I think that confidence that he will return is why LeBron came out publicly and said, I don't need to re-recruit Kevin Love. He's not going to do that. They're confident that he's going to come back. Gut feeling says due to the shoulder injury, he's actually going to accept a 5-year deal right off the bat, not sign a 1-year deal. He wants to secure his guaranteed money moving forward. But he is going to entertain other options. He's going to interview with other players or other teams. Lakers obviously have interest. Rockets are trying to position themselves for that. And I'd expect the Spurs to also look for Kevin Love if they were to whiff on LaMarcus Aldridge.
So it's possible Love's maybe looking for that guaranteed deal, kind of like Steph Curry did, coming off those ankle injuries, wanting that guaranteed money in case it's a more serious injury, or do you think it's just he's found the right place?
Well, I think the severity of the injury has been determined. We know that it is something that he can bounce back from. But Kevin Love's somebody that has had a lot of injuries in his past. And as a result of that, I think he's thinking, get that guaranteed money now, get the 5-year deal. He'll probably have an opt-out maybe after the 3rd year, maybe after the 4th year. But that's still going to be pretty much his prime. So he's probably in line for another max contract after that. But right now, he didn't get his full max from Minnesota on his last contract. He wants his first guaranteed 5-year max deal. So I fully expect him to sign a 5-year, $100 million deal.
Wow, that's big money for a guy who, I don't know, is it just me, or can you see them without Love and having Kyrie and LeBron? Or do you really think, as we've spoken about, that Love and Kyrie is going to be this insurance policy on the regression of LeBron James?
Well, I think they're without a doubt an insurance policy on LeBron regressing. I mean, Kyrie's 23, Love's 26. They're just entering their primes right now. LeBron, we've seen, he breaks down in efficiency, not physically because the guy's an android, but his efficiency did break down when he had to shoulder a higher load. I still personally, even though Kyrie Irving's progressed a lot and had a better season last year, I still think Kevin Love's the second best player in the East. I think a lot of what we saw last year had to do with his health rather than decisions by David Blatt or the Cavaliers coaching staff on how to use him. We saw him average about 20 points per game in games coming off of a day of rest or more. So I think if he does come back, isn't dealing with those back spasms, we see him in a much larger role than he was moving forward, and that role is only going to expand as LeBron slows down.
All right, well, speaking of power forwards, obviously talk of the town, the Western Conference, are the Portland Trail Blazers, having just traded Nick Batum to the Charlotte Hornets, the land where is it just me, or do you feel bad for Nick Batum going there?
I don't. Nick Batum, first of all, I feel like the Trailblazers sold really low on Nick Batum. He was visibly hurt all year, and that affected his shooting stroke. Nick Batum is a hell of a player. He's really, really good. but the writing's kind of on the wall in Portland. Wes Matthews is basically a lock to leave. LaMarcus Aldridge has reportedly said that he's going to leave. I wouldn't want to be around Damian Lillard if he's the number one guy. I think Lillard's presence, from what I've heard, is a big reason why Aldridge is leaving. Lillard, without those guys to attract the attention, likely isn't going to produce the same clip that he did. Portland's going through another rebuild. You look at Charlotte, they've got a lot of talent there. It doesn't all fit, but I've liked the moves they've done so far this summer. So in a weaker East, you're more likely to make some noise than a rebuilding Portland team.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of the Hornets, there have been some rumblings after this trade that they're picking 9th in this draft, that Frank Kaminsky's name has popped up there. We've seen them countless times picking up the shooting power forwards. They traded for Spencer Hawes, still have Zeller. Noah Vonleh was a pick who they traded away there. Do you think Frank Kaminsky's a bit of a reach at 9? And is this one of those Jordan Love affairs, or is this something that's realistic at that point?
I think it's a Jordan Love affair. I think Kaminsky at 9 is going to be a bit of a reach. We've heard him talked about as high as 4 with the Knicks, which is horrifying to me.
I don't even understand how you start that conversation at 4. There's so many good players. I mean, at that point, you're talking about your Moutiers, possibly Porzingis. I mean, I even think Jahlil Okafor could slide. I mean, really? Frank Kaminsky?
Yeah, I think ideally the Knicks want to move down to draft Kaminsky. I think they're looking to move out of that number 4 spot, and we might see him move down to 7 or 8 and take Kaminsky. You probably can't go 9 because Charlotte, as you alluded to earlier, does seem set on drafting Kaminsky if he's available. Yeah, I don't understand how that would be a serious consideration if they were to draft him at 4. But yeah, for Charlotte, I think that's a bit of a reach. I think Noah Vonleh, who they traded away, was a better player, a better prospect than Kaminsky.
Well, at least he played defense, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Cody Zeller was fantastic in college as well. There's nothing based on their respective college performances that makes me look at Kaminsky and go, whoa, he's way better than Cody Zeller, which Cody Zeller hasn't really materialized as much in the pros yet either.
No, exactly. Well, listen, if we're talking about that kind of trade, let's just throw it out there. If you're in New York, would you do something like your number 4 and some certain players, let's just throw on some names for kind of a Ty Lawson, Kenneth Faried at number 7 and allow, or Ty Lawson, Kenneth Faried, like somewhere along there, bring in those guys who can play right away, right next to Melo, and allow Denver to rebuild with that higher draft pick?
Well, I mean, certainly if I was the Knicks, yes, I would do that. The Nuggets are rumored to want a lottery pick for Ty Lawson. I don't think they would trade him just to move up in the draft. I don't think there's enough of a gain there. But if something like that were to materialize and the Knicks had to give up something else, and basically anything other than Melo, yes, I would do that. Like, I would trade Tim Hardaway Jr. at 4 in order to get Ty Lawson, move back to 7. Because I think, I mean, if at 7, if you're drafting Kaminsky, let's say you draft Hazonia, someone like that, I think Ty Lawson.
Would you just do that trade though, like just the number 4 for those two?
No, I won't.
You've gotten yourself out of the lottery, but you now have Kenneth Faried to put next to Melo, who I think could work, and Ty Lawson to run your point.
My thing is, Ty Lawson's 27 years old. Kenneth Faried's 25, I believe. Ty Lawson comes with off-court issues, which is a big reason why Denver wants to get rid of him. And I don't think those issues necessarily get better in New York, which comes with a lot of celebrity playing there. Kenneth Faried, I'm hesitant on it because Carmelo plays his best minutes at power forward, and Faried's a power forward that doesn't play any defense, which is something the Knicks really, really need. So for that reason, I'd roll the dice. I'd draft Russell, Okafor, like you said, might slide, even Hazonia or Moutier. Like, I would take a chance on one of those guys rather than go with a lesser ceiling with somebody else.
Well, okay, there's one name you didn't mention there, which is Porzingis. This guy, so it seems to be a little bit of feedback there, but Porzingis, he's one of those guys who can stretch the floor, athletic, next to Melo, maybe makes sense. Is it maybe the spotlight of New York that makes you doubt it a bit more?
Actually, I kind of skipped Porzingis. That would be another guy that I'd roll the dice on over a Ty Lawson or Kenneth Faried if we're talking about moving the number 4 pick. Um, Porzingis, I mean, I'm not as high on him as everybody else is, but I do see why they like him so much. I don't think he's a prototypical Euro player that's soft, just shoots, things like that. I think I do like his aggression. I do think he can develop into a good defender. That being said, I just do feel that there are better options, especially if I'm the Knicks. Like, again, Hazonia is probably somebody I'd pick over Porzingis.
Absolutely. Now, talking of other trades, we've heard DeMarcus Cousins' name being mentioned a few times and a few rumors, maybe the Lakers, maybe a few other teams. And I've also read today that they're thinking of firing George Karl for starting this all in the first place. What do you I mean, it's anyone's guess what happens in Sacramento, especially last year. I mean, as much as I love Nick Stauskas, I don't get how you pass on Elfrid Payton, especially when your whole staff wanted him outside of the owner.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on there in Sacramento, and is Cousins part of that future?
I think the damage is done. I think DeMarcus Cousins is a guy, once he checks out, he checks out. And apparently he asked for a trade within last season after the hiring of George Karl. I believe George Karl and Cousins' agent have some history that they don't get along well. I mean, I don't think you necessarily fire Karl. I think you move Cousins, even though it's ridiculous that they have to do that. I don't think Karl's a bad coach. He's someone that does routinely get the most out of his team, but at the same time, he does bump head with stars. So it's a bit of it's a messy situation because if you're moving Cousins, you're likely moving him for rookies, young players. Like we heard the Lakers offer was Randall, Okafor, and Clarkson. Clarkson's played for 1 year and not much of the year. Randall and Okafor have never played in the NBA except for half a game for Randall. George Karl hates rookies. So what do you do? Like this has completely changed kind of the trajectory of the Sacramento Kings, this whole Cousins situation. And then at the same time, you got Vivek who's saying that he wants to make playoffs right away. So basically, Sacramento, the only upside they have right now, or the only thing that's comforting for a Sacramento fan, is that they're not talking about dysfunction with the Seattle Supersonics. The team's still in Sacramento, but outside of that, it's a mess.
Okay, well, if you're Sacramento, I mean, if you have Cousins, if you want to get some bang for your buck in a trade, first of all, I think the question has to be, where would he fit? Because, I think a lot of teams, talent-wise, would love this guy. I mean, even looking at a Toronto, the huge upgrade over JV. They could send back a JV and Kyle Lowry and man the 1 and the 5. I mean, it doesn't do anything in my mind to Sacramento. They're still terrible. But at the same point, I think that's kind of the top offer you're going to get. People know you're bleeding and they're going in for the sucker punch. Do you think there's actually is the Lakers offer of, you said Okafor, let's assume it's Okafor because this is the number 2 pick. They still have those options, and if it's traded before, Sacramento would have a choice. Maybe they're higher on the Porzingises of the world, or who knows. Hopefully it's not another 2, considering they have enough. But is that the best offer you think they're going to get, or do you think there's a legitimate other offer out there? I don't even know where to begin, but because Cousins essentially has to play center. You more or less agree?
Oh, Cousins is absolutely a center. And now that he developed as a rim protector and a defender last year, he's 100% a center. So, well, it's funny that you said Jonas Valanciunas and Kyle Lowry. I think we've already seen that Kyle Lowry, Rudy Gay, and Jonas Valanciunas suck. So I don't think they're too eager to reunite those guys.
They could send back Patrick Patterson. It'll be perfect.
Full-out reunion. Personally, if it is the Lakers' offer of those 3 players, I think Sacramento comes away with 3 real cornerstones. I mean, Jordan Clarkson, I believe the last 2 months of the season, he actually won Rookie of the Year for the Western Conference over Andrew Wiggins. Now, it's still completely a flyer. We've seen guys have good months before. It means nothing, but that's at least someone with upside. I personally was really high on Julius Randle. So putting Randle and Okafor together,
yeah, but you can't do that, and you know this. There's going to be no defense, and as much as like really, okay. Picture this: Jahlil Okafor. Is there? To me, he's one of the most polarizing players. People say they know who he is and everything. I really see defensive potential there. Like, he looks a bit doughy. He looks a bit like, I think he's one of those guys, because of his intelligence and length, if he gets in real NBA shape, could be a better defender than people give him credit for.
No, I honestly, watching him at Duke, I think the defensive deficiencies are more to do with effort. And the other thing to consider, Coach K does instruct his star players intentionally not to foul. This is something that we saw with Jabari Parker. Jabari Parker exceeded a lot of people's defensive expectations the second he went in the NBA, but it was the exact same criticism. He doesn't try on defense. He's a little doughy. I think if you put him on a team, either if the Lakers draft him or someone else that can train him the right way, I think there's defensive potential there with Okafor. I know you aren't that high on him, but I think someone that can finish at the rim, like 100%.
But he can't hit his free throws, and it's a big guy who's going to get to the line because of the type of offense you create. That's a problem.
But the thing is, he still finishes at the rim about 72%. So if you got a defender on him, you got an ace defender, and your strategy is to foul him because otherwise he's stopping. Okay, so for 3 possessions, you only got 3 points at the free throw line if he hits 3 out of 6, which he probably is going to. That guy's still sitting on the bench, and you got to throw in someone else to deal with him. So I understand that there is the hack concern and all that. But at the same time, this is somebody that's going to draw a ton of attention, is very tough to contend with, has great footwork. So I'm not going to hesitate too much on the free throw shooting. It's not DeAndre Jordan bad. I'm not crazy about the form, but it's not something that's going to stop me from looking at him as a prospect because he has so many other tools.
Okay, I know we've gone over this in a past show when we did our mock draft, and so I'm going to wonder if you kind of rethought who has the higher potential for 7-8 years from now, Jahlil Okafor or Kristaps Porzingis?
Okafor, absolutely.
Just hands down, it's for sure.
Yeah, I think his game translates more. I think his style of play is more durable for a big man. Porzingis, he's very athletic, but at the same time, he doesn't have this type of athleticism that's going to jump off the screen. I think when you have a 7-foot body, we've seen it with Kevin Durant, we've seen it with a lot of really mobile guys, you're probably more prone to injuries when you're doing all these explosive movements. Okafor, you plant him in the paint, he makes good reads out of the post, he makes good passes there. It's almost the Andre Miller theory to staying healthy. Stay on the ground, don't jump, and you won't get hurt.
I get what you mean, but at the same point, there's a part of me that looks at Kristaps Porzingis and be like, a guy who can stretch the floor, is faster in the modern NBA, and can block shots because of his length and athleticism. Right. Is that not more conducive to where the game is going? Because if you're going to play Jahlil, you're essentially going to play against where the NBA is going and hoping that, your style outmatches theirs.
I understand that, but I mean, that's the more conventional NBA style. In order to win in the NBA, what you do is you get as much talent as possible and you build a roster that complements that elite talent that you manage to gather. I think right now it's easier to find those stretch players, but we've seen San Antonio win with Tim Duncan playing at center, someone that doesn't stretch the floor. I think if you build the right roster, you worry about getting talent, you figure out the rest. I think you can get floor spacers around Okafor, similar to what Orlando had with Dwight Howard. I think you get a dynamic point guard or something in there, someone that can get him the ball. I don't think there's any one way to win in the NBA. I think you get the talent, you are smart with how you build the roster around them. You don't overspend on role players, and you can win with multiple styles. Golden State has a great formula, but it takes luck, and there is no one consistent way to win in the NBA.
Absolutely. Now, got a bit of echo again there, but it's got 5 minutes till it's going to be the first. Well, they're going to announce. There's a bit of a polarizing player that's gone all over the place. Willie Cauley-Stein. We're looking at him number 8 on Chad Ford's big board. We've heard him as high as number 4 to the Knicks, and I've seen him on some boards slipping as low to 17.
Yeah.
What's your take on Willie Cauley-Stein? Just gut feel.
If his ankle doesn't turn out to be a major issue, I see him as a Tyson Chandler. As a more...
Well, he can cover more positions than Tyson Chandler, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's a more coordinated... He's got more tools. That's kind of what I see him as.
All right. And then the other guy who is probably going to go top 7 or 8, Justice Winslow. What's your take on him overall? Because some people, are enamored with Jahlil Okafor, but he had a very talented teammate there in Duke who I've seen the same projections as high as 4 to the Knicks.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be a little bit of a stretch. I do like Winslow a lot. I think basically anywhere 7 on, great value. I wouldn't put him in that upper tier. I don't think he has the same upside, but I do think he is. He's a very good prospect that's probably going to have a long career.
Okay, and just taking one last look, we have 3 minutes till it kicks off, till they put the Timberwolves on the clock. We had Chad Ford's big board, Karl Anthony Towns number 1, D'Angelo Russell has jumped to number 2 with the Lakers, Jahlil Okafor going to 3, Emmanuel Mudiay to 4, and Kristaps Porzingis, and then the regular characters. Stanley Johnson got a bit of a bump, but to the Pistons at 8. And then Frank Kaminsky's in there. So there's a lot of value all the way along. And exactly what I was saying, Willie Cauley-Stein having slipped all the way to 13 to the Phoenix Suns. I think that's a little low for a guy like that. But
it is, but it's so tough to predict where guys are going to go. We've seen a lot of guys slide. That does seem really, really low to me. But then again, look at Perry Jones 3rd. A lot of people had him going into the draft ranked as the 8th or 9th best prospect. One concern can make somebody slide all the way to 20 or 25. So I don't agree that his upside is reflective of that, but we have to acknowledge that there is a realistic chance that he could go that low.
Okay, and one of my guys in the draft that is getting a little bit of hate because the way he literally runs, Miles Turner out of Texas. I like this guy. Let's just say the running and jumping is just mechanical, and as people have been reporting, it improves. It apparently has improved a lot already. Isn't this the classic NBA big? 6'11", 7-foot, long wingspan, block shots, hits jump shots. Why is this guy? Is it literally just the running, or do you think there's more to this that's helping him slide there?
There's probably more to that. I do agree. He does seem to fit the modern NBA really well. But when the running is funny. The running is certainly, I think that is a bit of a realistic concern, but I think people just don't, he doesn't seem to have that it factor. He doesn't seem to be a guy that jumps off the screen when you watch him. And some of that is how he runs and his kind of on-court demeanor. But there just doesn't seem to be that it factor with him.
No, I agree. And some of the criticism has been like he's putting up some of his bigger points and bigger numbers against, subpar talent. When it comes to the big games, he doesn't show up quite as much. So his stats might be a little bit exaggerated because of, that difference there. There's so many guys like that. And it's so tough to predict. I mean, they're just about to jump into it. Let's just say for a big, what's an indicative factor for you for a big to have success in the NBA? Just generally, we won't even focus on an individual. Like what are some little things? Because for me personally, unfortunately, with the last example, it's how you move, your hands, and just your ability to see the play develop and be in the right spot and not look like an awkward stiff. I mean, for a big, how do you judge them when you're watching tape and things like that?
Well, one thing that doesn't always materialize on tape, I think is one of the most important things for big, is a desire to play. Do they love the sport of basketball? Because a lot of these guys, they're playing basketball because they're 7 feet tall, and that's what somebody told them to do, and that's an opportunity for them to make a lot of money. They don't necessarily have the same desire to play the game. Outside of that, what I think it takes success, or what someone needs to be successful in the NBA as a big man, you have to be able to be a quick learner, to be able to read the defense, because a lot of guys are too methodical. We saw in Toronto with Jonas Valanciunas. He catches the ball, he's pump faking every single time. Like, he's going through the exact same motions, and that makes you easy to read. You have to develop a go-to move. I believe actually Al Jefferson talked about this a couple months ago. You develop a go-to move, and then you come up with a counter. You don't have to get too complicated, but if you have stuff that you are comfortable doing, and you have a counter for when people try to take that away from you, you're going to be successful as a big man in the NBA.
Okay, and as a guard, just to wrap up there, what's generally your thing? For myself, I would say more than anything, weirdly enough, ball handling. I like, as simple as it sounds, just your ability to create, not get stuck, and maybe some 3-point shooting, but just again, it's just how you handle the rock on a day-to-day, to me, is more indicative than a lot of things.
I agree. Offense is generated by creating penetration, by forcing the defense to shift and move. We saw Cleveland in the finals, Matthew Dellavedova, while he was able to commit or do some of the point guard role, he can't dribble, he can't penetrate, and he didn't cause the defense to move. So they were forced to run everything through LeBron. When you're evaluating guards in college, you look at their ability to penetrate, whether they probe the defense or when they put the ball down, do they just put their head down? They've shown that one of the best ways to measure a guard's defense and how it's going to translate to the pros is their steal rate. That's a good way to measure the athleticism, how attentive they are to the game. That's something that does translate really well. Mm-hmm. So you look at the assist to turnover ratio, even though they do handle or they give out assists a little differently in college. You look at how tight their handle is and whether or not they do get steals at that level.
All right. Well, it's getting closer to that time. So, you know what? Let's just let's just talk about it. Is Towns the number one guy? I'm just hearing more and more. I mean, I know you're a big Wiggins guy, as in the jersey in your background. Let's just say on a pure Wiggins fan pick, let's just not be Flip Saunders. Who's the guy who's going to run with Wiggins for years and be the most effective? Just as simple as that. Forget the rest.
It's Towns. He's the more mobile of the bigs. He's someone that you could even play at power forward if you had to. He's so gifted. He's got every tool available. He's a good safety net for Wiggins, who's showing to be a great defender. So that starts to lay a foundation of a great defense. While I'm not huge on Rubio, I don't think the upgrade to Russell is worth giving up the prospect of Towns. And I think if you were to draft Russell to replace Rubio and trade Rubio, I don't think the return is going to be equal to the Rubio-Wiggins-Towns combination. So I think that's a no-brainer decision.
No, I agree with you there. And I think it's a simple answer of he fits a need. He fits a role player in the modern NBA. Like you said, he has no weaknesses to say. He could get better at certain things, sure. But I'm huge on guys that you don't have to cover for. Like guys like Melo and such, the fact that you have to cover for certain inadequacies, to me, that takes away as a superstar. Mm-hmm. And then look at the guys they do have. They have Pekovic, as you said, it could be a 4. I could totally see Towns as a stretch 4, weak side shot blocker, next a la kind of Serge Ibaka type player next to Pekovic. And then when Pekovic goes out and Gorgie Dieng comes in, then Dieng is just mashing it well as limited offensive moves. But then again, they become a fast up and down team. And I think that's the key with Andrew Wiggins and a lot of these guys they have on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They want to run. And when you want to run, a big that can run, and one thing when I've been watching a lot of tape that really impressed me about him, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it, is his ball handling. For a big guy, he can really handle the rock. And I think when playing center, he'll be able to take some bigs off the dribble and create so much havoc. And the fact that he's an 80% free throw shooter means that if he goes there, he's either finishing at the rim or hitting a high percentage at the line. I think this guy could be an incredibly productive player. Maybe not the same low post scoring as Okafor, I get that, but his overall offensive repertoire matched with his defensive potential just means that him and Wiggins can be pillars there on offense and defense. I mean, we talk about 3-and-D guys. These guys potentially could be some of the best 3-and-D guys at their position for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree. I think Okafor's ceiling might be a little bit higher, but I think you have Wiggins. Towns is basically a sure thing, and his fit is better. So I agree with you. I think that's the right pick. I think the point you brought up about his ball handling is a good one because he does have a little bit of that mid-range game. So if you can get a big man to respect that, come out a little bit, it only takes one dribble to get to the rim or 1 or 2 dribbles. If he can execute that 1 or 2 dribble, it makes him very, very, very tough to contend with on the offensive end. And that's something that Jahlil Okafor wouldn't necessarily have in his repertoire, even though he does have more low post moves than Towns.
Absolutely. And I heard a report saying when he was in Kentucky, he actually wanted to be more perimeter oriented, but Calipari was forcing him to be inside because he sees all these young guys trying to be like the Perry Joneses, be out there, even though you're big guys. Like, listen, develop that, but also develop your inside. And so I think being that year at Kentucky, while for some players it kind of pigeonholed them, like Cauley Stein wasn't allowed to shoot, even though he's got a streaky shot, and different guys had very particular roles. I think this is one key example where college was a huge benefit to a player, and I think it helped him round out his game where if he had just gone, I could see him trying to rely too much on that jump shot and over dribbling and being one of those players that kind of, is not that much of an efficient player and plays his way out of the league. Whereas now, understanding his position and how to take advantage of multiple situations, he can be a very dangerous player.
No, I completely agree. I think that was the right approach to take. I think that's something we're seeing even with Anthony Davis, which even as his game is growing more and more outside the paint, that paint presence is the focal point. The rest is kind of icing on top of the cake, but having that base is still absolutely essential for a big man, even if you are able to stretch it out. I think without that, the chance that you are a more sure thing kind of goes out the window. I think you start to get into, like you said, the Perry Jones realm of players.
Exactly. Now, before the first one comes on, let's just play a fun little game. Let's look at these top guys and talk about your NBA comps. So in case people haven't been watching the tape, have been watching them in college or in China or in Latvia, let's just start at the tops. At the top, Karl Anthony Towns. Who does he kind of remind you of in the modern NBA? Who is playing now?
I'm going to go with a taller Al Horford. He's somebody like that can play defense. Al Horford's defense, especially prior to those injuries, was very underrated as a center. Like we alluded to before, he's able to put it on the floor. He's able to shoot a little bit. He finishes at the free throw line, finishes at the rim. He's very, very versatile, so I see him as a slightly taller Al Horford.
So would you agree if you had to mesh players that a half Serge Ibaka, half Al Horford would be a fair comparison?
Yeah, I guess so. If you're going to combine those guys,
Frankenstein the players together. All right, so Jahlil Okafor. Maybe there is no comparison in the modern NBA with such a classic game. Al Jefferson, maybe.
Al Jefferson in some ways. His offensive game does remind me a lot of Al Jefferson. Um, he kind of reminds me of almost a DeMarcus Cousins without the attitude, which isn't necessarily a good thing. I think the aggression Cousins has is a bit of an asset. Um, but I mean, Cousins had similar issues. I mean, he had the NBA body, he had the post work and all that, but the defensive questions were there. We saw Cousins develop that defensive game. I think that is certainly possible for Okafor as well. But in terms of his footwork in the post, Al Jefferson is a really, really good comparison to the moves that you see Okafor execute.
All right, interesting. So the next one, everyone seems to be making the two MVP finalist comparisons. Is there someone else, D'Angelo Russell, that you can compare to, or are those two comparisons adequate?
I really like when it comes to D'Angelo Russell. I really do see him as a Brandon Roy. Um, a really long guard that has great vision. He probably has better vision than a Brandon Roy. He has more point guard skills, but I really can see him in a Brandon Roy type role that's executing the offense. To me, that's a perfect comp for Russell. Hopefully, he has better luck with health. But I mean, Brandon Roy was a hell of a player. I certainly don't think that's a slight to Russell.
Although the knock on Roy would have been that he was more of a half court guy, right? Not a full court guy. Maybe Russell is maybe
right.
Maybe a Roy who can play at both speeds, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like I said, he has more of those point guard skills. I think he is able to get out and transition a little more, and he's. I think when you look at the top 5 teams, all of them would be lucky to have D'Angelo Russell, and I wouldn't criticize any of them, even Minnesota for drafting him, even though I think Towns is the correct pick.
I'm gonna be so sad if they don't pick Towns. Just to be really honest. But okay, next let's stick with the guards. Emmanuel Mudiay. People say Russell Westbrook, John Wall, Derrick Rose. Is that the kind of thing that makes sense? Or are you seeing something else? Because I look at him. Weirdly enough, I see a bit of Tyreek Evans with an attitude.
I was going to say Tyreek Evans. I don't like the John Wall comparison. I think his jumper's a little better than advertised. It's not Michael Kidd Gilchrist levels of broken.
Well, because that's the thing that scares people off when you say Tyreek Evans, right? You see the size, you see the ability to run the show at parts. He can attack the basket, but never really developed that shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he certainly doesn't have the same frames that Tyreek Evans had as well, so I don't think he's going to develop into one of those triple-double point guards like Tyreek Evans kind of was for a little while there. But I think he does have a potential to be a semi-consistent shooter, a bit of a streak shooter, almost like a Marcus Smart. I'm personally not super high on Mudiay, but he is a legitimately good prospect and somebody that.
Are you not high on him because he can't shoot, or because we haven't had the ability to see him? Because before last year, he was the number 1 or 2 ranked player of the country, and people would say, including Chad Ford, had he stayed in, we'd be talking about him and not D'Angelo Russell right now.
I mean, part of not seeing him is a big part of it. When you really look at it, though, like coming out of high school, we saw magazine covers with LeBron James and Sebastian Telfair, both coming in as the next 2 stars coming out of high school. Didn't really work out for Sebastian Telfair. We haven't seen Mudiay against the same level of competition that these other guys have played against. Even other Euros like Kristaps or Hazonia. Hazonia was playing in a very good Spanish league. We don't know. We haven't seen enough of Mudiay to really make a judgment call. And with the other guys available, because I do think this lottery is fairly deep, that's where I have my most trepidation, and that's why I'd be a little hesitant to pull the trigger on him very high in the draft.
All right, well, let's give this interesting one. Talking about guys we don't see. Let's give an NBA comp to Kristaps Porzingis.
Whew. Well, I'll just say I hate all the comps that are out there. He's not the next Dirk. He just isn't. I I really don't know who to compare him to. He's a bit of a, it's like a thin Mirza Teletovic, or not. Mirza Teletovic. I honestly don't know who to compare Kristaps to. He's got a very weird body type. He's very lean for his size. He's a legitimate 7'1" that can shoot. He's athletic.
Can I put a weird one out there? Jonathan
What's that?
Bender?
What's that?
Jonathan Bender. Weird.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't, it's not exactly right, but a 7-footer who is athletic, and I think Bender had a little bit more guard skills, I guess, but
Yeah, probably.
yeah, he's a tough one to peg. But the thing is, as Chad Ford said, guys who can shoot the three and block shots don't come along very often, especially at the power forward center position.
Yeah.
Like, there's Serge Ibaka and a few others. Like, there's guys who can block shots, and there's guys who, like, exactly what my argument about Miles Turner is, right? Like, guys who do that, there's not a whole bunch, and that has legitimate value in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, it's funny because I think they're in weird ways, Porzingis is going to get drafted before Okafor in a weird way.
Wow, that'd be a bit of a stretch, that's for sure.
It would, but I think people are really worrying about Okafor's weaknesses. I used to abide by that mentality a little bit more. I don't now. I think his intelligence will allow him to learn more in his length and body. I think he'll be okay. But when it comes to, when it comes to draft, people think of, the high ceiling. And I think while you see Okafor as a high ceiling, I think there's a lot of people who think he has a medium ceiling. He kind of is what he is, and he's going to have to fix the rest, and they don't know if he'll do that. But
I honestly think that's a little bit of the typical dragging down the guy that's been number one for so much of the year. I mean, we saw the same thing with Andrew Wiggins, where everybody was doubting him going into the draft. There's been a lot of hot takes about him. I think he does have a higher ceiling. Well, he's certainly got a higher floor than Porzingis. I'm not sold that Porzingis is going to be that great of a player, but at the same time, I do get that Porzingis fits the modern NBA more. But Okafor's skill set is so refined, I just can't see him busting, and I can't see that many teams really passing on him.
I'm just having so much trouble seeing him in the modern NBA. Like they're going to force to slow it down. I don't know. There's a part about me that really doesn't.
Well,
I can see the talent, but the thing is, I see him top 5, not 1 or 2. That's how I see him.
I respect your opinion, but I really do see him as probably a top 3 prospect in this draft. Certainly put Russell in the discussion as well. But we've seen teams that do slow it down or that do have more traditional bigs still have success. I mean, if Mike Conley's healthy and doesn't miss a couple of games and have a broken face for the rest, Memphis, a team without a lot of spacing, probably had a pretty legitimate shot to knock off Golden State. And
now they have Matt Barnes.
Yeah. Matt Barnes and Tony Allen together. That's a funny combination. But they had 2 traditional bigs and not a lot of spacing on the wing. So, like I said earlier, I don't think there is any one way to win in the NBA. I think you get talent, and I think Okafor is that refined talent, and he is somebody that you can build around.
Actually, I think that's a great comparison. I think if he can slim down and learn the other side of the ball, the reverse comparison of Marc Gasol, who had the defense first and learned the offense.
Yeah.
Because they're both good passing big men. I think there may be a comp there, which if that's the comp, you can totally understand why everyone would be high on him, right? Because Marc Gasol is considered the best, or if not the best, a top 2 or 3 center in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, nice. So where are we here? Just going to keep
about 12 minutes away from, I guess, the Wolves being on the clock. So
Cool.
bit of time left.
Nice. So let's go down this list here. So we did Moutier, Mario Hezonja.
Yes.
Is it J.R. Smith, or do you have something better?
Oh, no, way better than that.
Way better than J.R. Smith. Interesting. Is that because of his ball handling and ability to defend multiple positions, or?
Well, no, J.R. Smith did have that. I don't think Hezonja's cockiness is the same thing as what J.R. Smith suffers from. If I'm going with an NBA comparison for Hezonja, it's a much better Rudy Fernandez. Rudy Fernandez is a guy that was very successful with Portland and ended up leaving.
I actually really liked Rudy Fernandez. He was a good player.
Oh, I loved Rudy Fernandez. I see Hezonja as that with rocket shoes, more reliable jumper. He's somebody that played in a more diminished role in Spain, which, as you know, Spain.
Well, he's been a pro since he was 14 years old, so he's been playing with grown men since he was very young.
Right, so he's someone that can step in and take a star role because he's kind of got that mentality if he goes to a team like, let's say, the Sixers. Or he's someone that if he falls a bit and it's a more developed roster, I think he'd be willing to settle into a role. He's going to shine no matter where he goes, in my opinion. I'm very high on him, but I'm not concerned with him needing his own team right off the bat, which, let's be honest, none of these guys are ready for. I think he is a little versatile in what type of situation you can draft him into.
All right, and Justice Winslow. People love the guy. He's got a lot of heart. Measured 6'4.5" without shoes on, but a good measurement in terms of standing reach and wingspan. What do you see as the comp? Because there's a part of me that I want to say an old school Artest, but then I'm like, no, it's different. There's not the point guard skills that he kind of showed at points. Where do you see Winslow? Like, if you had to compare him or project him?
That's really tough. I've struggled to come up with a comparison for Winslow in the past. I don't like the Artest one, as you said. I think they're totally different body types there. I'm really not too sure. I mean, the worst comparison I saw, like, he's kind of fallen into that trap of next Wade, which Dion Waiters was thrown into. Like, he's kind of getting in that conversation again, which I hate that it comes up every draft. There's always one. But kind of a shooting guard like that. He obviously doesn't have a great jumper. I think he's going to be a great defender. I think he's going to be a tenacious defender. But like I said, I don't consider him a top-tier guy.
What if I said like when he was at his best, Ruben Patterson?
Okay, I could see that.
Like the Kobe stopper, the physical 2-3 who can really defend. And hopefully, I think with a guy like that, you're in love with what he brings, the intangibles, the defense, and you're just praying that he learns to shoot the three. Is that essentially Justice Winslow?
Otherwise, he gets into a Tony Allen role.
Although Tony Allen has been a successful guy for years, right?
I'm not saying you can't be successful in that role. I'm just saying that there is a risk of that.
Oh, absolutely. But is there a situation where he's picked over Hezonja in your mind?
It's the NBA, so yes. I could see a team kind of loving him over Hezonja.
But you wouldn't recommend it, is what you're saying.
What's that?
But outside of a team that has just shooters, like I was watching the mock draft, I'm looking at the Kings, and I'm like, the Kings might be that one team, right? Because you have, assuming they keep Cousins, then you play Rudy Gay at a 4, play Justice Winslow at the 3. You still have your 2 guards and whoever is going to play the 1. Maybe Rajon Rondo.
I really see Winslow as a shooting guard. I wouldn't feel comfortable putting his size at the 3. God, God, yeah, I don't like the fit in Sacramento. I think that's
Well, if you can only play the two, then absolutely, because they've got enough there.
yeah, they've drafted shooting guards for the last 2 years, so I think it's time for them to move on from that.
So, is there a definitive kind of? Because I'm looking at it, top 7, and the rest are just this mash. Because I'm looking at the Winslow, Super Mario, Porzingis, Moutier, Okafor, Towns, and Russell. So you got those 7, and after that, you start jumping into your Stanley Johnsons, Frank Kaminsky's, Devon Booker, Cameron Payne, Lyles, Cauley Stein, Oubre, Turner. So is it fair to say that the top 7 are the prizes in this draft?
I think the prizes are the top 3. I think the top set there is a top 7. I agree. I think the second tier cuts off at 7.
Well, who's the top 3 to you? Because that's interesting to me. Who is that top 3 tier?
I'm going with Towns, Okafor, and Russell. I think those are the most sure things in my mind. Again, there is a possibility for Porzingis to elevate himself into there. I'd put Hazonia in there as well.
Wow.
I wouldn't put Moutier, but those are the 3 that I'd feel most comfortable with if I was a general manager drafting, because I think those are the prizes, those are the stars, those are the guys that are the least likely to fail.
All right. I get your point. Now, play the convincing guy. Convince me. I'm looking at I'm looking at Russell, and I think he's going to be a liability. Attacking the rim, he's going to get blocked a lot, and I think he's going to be a liability on defense. Convince me these aren't issues, and that because essentially that's what Moutier has over him. So convince me that Russell's the better player than Moutier.
I think he's got a better body type. I trust his handle more. I think in a more spaced out NBA, his ability to probe and, like I said before in the comparison, like Brandon Roy wasn't someone that was blowing by and getting clear baskets, but I think he's someone that's crafty, uses Euro steps and stuff like that to finish well. Getting out of that NCAA, like college basketball is almost a different sport. It's a very, very congested game, and ability to get to the rim is a lot tougher to evaluate. I like his body type better than Moutier. I think there's a good chance that he winds up being a good defender. I think he's crafty enough to figure out a way to finish at the rim.
All right, well, interesting. So there's a lot of buzz right now in the Twitterverse about D'Angelo Russell to the Lakers. I mean, who knows what the number 1 pick is? Like you said, Russell could go number 1. Stranger things have happened, especially in the world of Flip Saunders. But can you see that argument? Can you see, like, if you're, I guess you just have to think he's the best player, because fit-wise, does it make sense? Because you have Clarkson, you have Kobe, right?
Well, I do see Russell as a point guard. Kobe, you can't plan for Kobe. This is his last season. So Kobe doesn't factor into my drafting at all if I'm Lakers general manager. I mean, if you're keeping Randall, you view him as center, you're drafting Russell as a point guard, and you're convinced that you can get LaMarcus Aldridge, or at least make a run at LaMarcus Aldridge, or Kevin Love, or somebody like that, it makes sense to me. I believe that they're still very confident in Randall. I thought that was an absolute steal for them last year. I think a year away from the game is going to benefit him almost the same way it benefited Blake Griffin, where he's able to watch film and kind of adjust to the speed of the NBA game from watching it from the bench. I feel I get it. I'd get the pick over Okafor.
Although it's funny, right? Because if Russell goes there, does that not throw the whole draft into this weird tailspin? Because
sure.
like Philadelphia, I think realistically, from everything I'm hearing, are kind of hoping he's there. He makes so much sense. He's a floor spacer, ball handler. Sorry, I'm just keeping up with Twitter at the same time, but then does Philadelphia go with Moutier, who's the next best guard, according to most projections? But they're sitting on Okafor and Porzingis. I mean, are you just collecting assets? Therefore, like to me, those three guys are kind of in the same world.
Mhm.
I believe in what Russell can bring right away. Like I think Russell and Towns right away, NBA ready skills. I can see it. I can see them taking a team. They're still going to go through their lumps, but those other guys, I think, all have these huge question marks about fit, potential, where they cover up their weaknesses. I mean, if you're Philadelphia at that spot, do you go traditional Moutier or do you just stash some talent? But the thing is, if your answer is stash some talent, don't teams know that or don't you have to know that you're going to get 75 cents on the dollar for a big, considering teams know you have to move someone if Embiid comes back?
Yeah, that's a good point. Personally, I'm a little surprised that Philly didn't Godfather offer the Kings for Boogie. Like when you really look at it, I think if you offer Noel, Dario Saric, and a collection of their picks other than three, I think that's a very attractive offer for DeMarcus Cousins. You bring in Cousins, you have Twin Towers with him and hopefully Embiid, which I think
Do you think
Embiid is
those
a
two
good.
can exist together? Because
Oh, for sure.
I'm
For sure.
requiring some convincing at that point.
I think they can coexist because Embiid he's got 3-point range. He's very mobile as well. So at the very least, you're not playing them both in the post together. And Cousins is mobile as well. So I think those two can exist. You have your ultra big twin towers, and then you draft the Moutier at 3. I think that would be a quick fix to what's a bit of a logjam in Philadelphia already.
Yeah, and then that allows the Kings to rebuild with some nice players, and I kind of get that. Although there's no star per se, but
Oh no, never mind. Shit, I thought that was a Woj bomb. I saw.
I just be warned, guys. You're going to be hearing a lot of that because we're all in the Twitterverse, so we're going to keep you guys up to date not only with the picks, reactions, and all this, but this is shaping up to be one of those drafts where there's going to be a lot of movement. Would you agree, Justin?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a ton of moves. Wojnarowski, we're just going to refer to him as Woj for the rest of the show because that's what everyone knows him as.
If you don't know who Woj is, you need to get your
If you
basketball.
don't, he's the one that's going to ruin every pick because he's going to be tweeting 2-3 picks ahead of time. The guy's magic.
He just kind of knows a little bit too much. It's
a little scary. I mean, we know exactly. There's articles out there. We won't get into it. But if you want to know exactly how he gets all this, go ahead. And that might kind of color the articles that he writes for you. If you haven't already read those, you should. But he's reporting that if the Lakers take Okafor, Philadelphia is locked in on D'Angelo Russell. So that's the first thing. And he's tweeted that the Timberwolves will draft Karl Anthony Towns. So that's not really a surprise for anybody. I think we should make an executive decision. Do we wait for the picks to actually happen, or do we report what Woj is saying because he's always right?
I think we be traditional, and well, you know what? I've done these for a bit. Where would you lean?
I mean, if people are anything like me, they're following along with Woj and they got the alerts set up already. I don't think we're going to jump ahead in the discussion beyond the picks that have happened, but we'll at least report what's being reported. I think that is the best way to go about it.
All right, perfect. So we'll Twitterverse this. Now listen, we were talking about Joel Embiid before. Just as a weird question, if he's healthy, and let's say this was his 1 year at Kansas, where does he land in this mock draft?
Oh, number one. He'd be number one last year. He'd be number one this year. His health was the only reason he was picked over Andrew Wiggins, or Andrew Wiggins was picked over him. If Embiid is completely healthy and has no health concerns, the Cavaliers draft him and they don't trade him for Kevin Love. You don't give up on Joel Embiid. He's a much better prospect than Andrew Wiggins, and I say that as a big Andrew Wiggins fan.
All right. Well, hey, interesting take. If you're Minnesota, would you do Noel in the number 3 for the number 1?
Um, well,
I'm just trying to
yes.
Frankenstein this team that has Carl
Yeah,
Towns and Big
I
on
would
his
do
name.
that. I'd do that.
Because you're
Yeah,
probably still getting Russell at that point, right?
right. Which I think you can put Russell at the 2. You run Rubio, Russell, Wiggins, um,
Dieng and
Corey, Dieng, Kevin Garnett, Shabazz Muhammad, who has played great at power
although is
forward.
it possible that's too much repetition with Dieng and Noel?
A little bit, a little bit, but I think Shabazz Muhammad, if he's anything like he showed last year, that's your power forward because he played very, very well alongside
He's
Wiggins.
a he's a bit short, you don't think?
I mean, Golden State Warriors just won a championship with a guy who's 6'6" at
Fair
power forward.
enough.
J.R. Smith's taller than him.
Yeah. And speaking of height, I just saw this picture of Justice Winslow standing next to D'Angelo Russell, and
Oh yeah.
Russell looked like he had an inch on him,
Okay.
showing how gigantic Justice Winslow is. Yeah, and did you hear that Porzingis measured 7'1" and I think 2.5 without shoes with a 7'6"
Yeah.
wingspan?
Yeah.
It's a big boy. I mean, like people say he's athletic, but he just reaches up and he can dunk it. But his shooting is just out of this world. I don't know. Well, maybe not out of this world, but he's a first class worker, I think. And what I
Correct.
really liked was I was watching an interview with him, and he came off a discussion with Phil Jackson, the New York Knicks, and a reporter asked him about it, and he said it was a private conversation, and I
Mm-hmm.
really, really respected that.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
like to me this is one of those character drafts. This is one of those things that you know they're very like maybe Cauley Stein, but aside from that, I'm not worried about any of these guys on a personal level.
Oh, I'm not worried about Cauley Stein either. Maybe Hazonia because he's a bit of a hothead. Oh, there goes Towns. All right, so Karl Anthony Towns has officially been drafted by Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously joining Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett as the last 3 consecutive number 1 overall picks. So that's what Minnesota's dealing with, although, as has been rumored, they are looking to trade him. Trade Bennett, that is, for basically cents on the dollar, but, I mean, that's a bit of a sunk asset.
If you're Masai Ujiri, do you jump on this for at least the PR thing? Just give them almost anything?
No, because Anthony Bennett gets paid $6 million a year. So that's a lot of money for somebody that's a negative in absolutely every single aspect of the game.
All right, all right. So Karl Anthony Towns, we're both really happy about this pick. Like, do the Timberwolves become like one of your must-do league pass teams this year with Rubio running the break with Wiggins and Towns?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think they were already a top league pass team with healthy Rubio and Andrew Wiggins, but adding Towns to the mix just makes things even more fun. I think Timberwolves are well on their way to becoming one of the most entertaining up and coming teams out there.
Nice. So at number 2, the Lakers next. This is where I think the dominoes start to fall. What's your gut feeling on this one?
Oh boy, that's tough. I think it's going to be Okafor. I don't think they're going to pass up on Okafor. Despite what's being rumored, I think that was a bit of a smoke screen to try to get Philly to trade up. They need a big man. It's either Okafor or a trade, if I had to guess.
All right. I'm going to agree with you, even though Russell's name's been there a lot. I trust the Woj, and I think they can't go away from their infatuation with big men in the NBA, even though I think that him and Randall are going to be offensively a really great team because I like Randall's ability to step out. But
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
defensively, I think there's going to be something that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, it's possible. But like I said, I do personally believe that he is going to be a better defender than people anticipate. I think it's a little bit of the Jabari Parker thing. It's the Duke defensive strategy. There's nothing I've seen in his game that says physically he can't be a great defender. I think he just needs to be in the right situation.
All right, and in terms of the Towns pick, what do you think their projected starting five next year are?
Ricky Rubio, Kevin Martin, Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Garnett, and Karl Anthony Towns.
Interesting. So neither Pekovic nor Dieng are starting in your.
I think Pekovic gets traded. I don't see him on the team.
I can see that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So you had Kevin Martin. Sorry, who was the three? It was Wiggins?
Wiggins, yeah.
Rubio. I really like Wiggins at the 2 with Muhammad at the 3. That's my thing.
I like that too, but Flip is still very, very high on Kevin Martin.
Yeah, but couldn't you just trade Martin to a contender and get someone back and just let your kids play?
Oh, I mean, as a Cavs fan, I want to give up Brendan Haywood in 24 for Kevin Martin. I mean, I think that would be perfect. That being said, Flip is very sold on Kevin Martin. I think he's a good veteran presence there. That's something that they do need, although they certainly had that in Kevin Garnett. Yeah, I mean, I think Wiggins' best position is ideally the 2, but I think they're able to go small ball with Muhammad at the 4, or go big with Wiggins at the 2 and Muhammad at the 3. So they have some versatility there. I think while you start with Martin at the 2, you can still make a lot of changes in game.
Okay, so here's a tweet from Mark Stein. It has reached the point where folks on the ground in Lakerland are going to be surprised should the Lakers pass on D'Angelo Russell. Seems like he's getting a lot of love there in Lakerland.
Yeah, and Woj hasn't tweeted anything yet either. And weird.
Ramona Shelburne saying sources told me before the draft 90% Lakers taking Russell. We'll see what happens. Seems like a lot of people are on this bandwagon. I'm just trying to get the general consensus of where people are going.
Right.
I'm really not seeing Okafor anywhere.
Oh, D'Angelo Russell.
D'Angelo Russell. So they were right. So I'm not going to call it too soon, but the Okafor slip has officially begun.
Yeah, guess so.
Because he's a weird fit there in Philadelphia. Let's be honest. Okay, so Philly gets Russell. So they have Russell, Kobe, Randall, Clark. So Clarkson, Russell, Kobe, because Kobe said he doesn't want to play the 3 this year. So that makes sense. You add the shooting. Your backcourt's really young. You have Randall. So you need a 5. Now, what's interesting to me is you could trade for someone.
You don't see Randall as a 5?
You see Randall as a 5?
Yeah.
The shortest 5s I've ever seen. I thought he was short for a power forward.
What's his height? Isn't he 6'11"?
Well, he must have grown. He was 6'7"3/4 without shoes before the draft.
No, I think Russell and LaMarcus Aldridge is a pretty good big man combo. And there it is. Boom.
So is there any way a guy like, considering they're going to have some money, you would think of DeAndre Jordan over other guys?
No, I don't like DeAndre Jordan. That's a personal thing. I don't value him that highly as a defender. I think he's an above average defender. I think he's largely overrated. And without a dynamic Chris Paul like point guard, I think his offensive production also tails off. So No, I wouldn't give him max money.
Exactly. I agree. But has this not turned out the Lakers to be the ideal landing spot for Marc Gasol?
No, I think
Because of
that
how
team
much
is
they
still the
love
Spurs.
their bigs. They need a defensive big next to Randall.
And
Him,
I think that's still the
Kobe.
Spurs.
Sorry?
I still think the ideal spot for Marc Gasol is the Spurs.
I kind of like LaMarcus instead of Marc Gasol on that team. Like, I've heard both. Because I think at this point, Tim Duncan's a better 5 than 4.
True, but at the same time, Marc Gasol is a perfect fit for what the Spurs like to run, where I don't think LaMarcus Aldridge is as much of that. And just looking at this draft here, I really do think Sixers are going to pass on Okafor, but the Knicks getting Okafor, that's huge get for them.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we agree this is a good pick for the Lakers. It makes sense. Bring some shooting and some extra ball handling. And since most of the free agents are bigs and they have money, it kind of lets them maneuver a bit better. And it sets up their backcourt and their 4 for the future. So they're kind of rebuilding here. So we'll see what happens at the 5 going forward. Few options maybe. So let's turn our attention to the team that no one can predict, the Philadelphia 76ers. Everyone had Russell going to them. It's all been blown up exactly like we were talking about. They have Moutier, Porzingis, Okafor. What's your gut now that Russell's off the board?
Because they're weird, I'm going to go with a bit of Hail Mary here and say Hazonia.
Wow.
Yeah.
You drafted Hazonia after you just drafted Saric?
Well, Hazonia is a wing. Saric is positionless and probably never going to play in the NBA. But Saric is a power forward.
Oh, which, by the way, it was such a great trade to trade away Elfrid Payton, who I can't believe how people have goofed on Elfrid Payton. Like this team, like imagine Philly right now if they had Elfrid Payton and didn't have to take Moutier, and they were just like, we could go get Hazonia and no one would care. It'd be like, oh, you have Hazonia, you have Joel Embiid, and you have Nerlens Noel. Well, that makes sense. But now they're in a bit of a weird spot. Like, if you take a big, either Porzingis or, like, my thought is maybe you showcase Noel this year as they did. You take Porzingis, and the long-term play is that incredibly high ceiling of Embiid and Porzingis, and you try to move a guy like Noel, who's already establishing himself as a bit of a shot blocker, to a team who can bring you back some backcourt play. I don't know.
Okay, Woj just tweeted that his Philly is still making its decision at 3, so nothing's decided yet. Trade rumor coming up. Cavaliers are in talks with the Boston Celtics to trade Avery Bradley for Brendan Haywood in the 24th overall pick.
That's a huge pick for the Cavs if they can land Bradley. I'm a big Bradley fan.
I'm not huge on him, but that's an ideal fit in my eyes.
Well, he's a great defender. He can't really shoot, but so Philly.
Okafor to the Sixers. Gordon Woj.
I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that he took it to just trade him. Like, I don't think Okafor ends the night in Philly. Does that make sense?
He might. They might trade Noel or Embiid. I think they're more likely to trade Noel or Embiid than that.
I'm just reading this tweet from Stephen A. Smith saying, oh my God, please 76ers pass on Okafor so my Knicks get him.
Not happening. It's already a done deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Mark Spears just got in on it too. He's confirmed that it's going to be Okafor. So
that's a weird pick. Yeah, but I don't like. Can you trade Embiid? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess
that's probably going to be Noel.
So you would play them together. You would play Embiid and Okafor together.
Yeah, I would.
That's a huge front court. I guess I kind of get it, but
Yeah, they just reported that Philly plans on keeping Okafor.
huh. I wonder if he was their if he was their pick over Russell all along. That's an interesting
What's
pick.
that?
No, I'm just wondering if he was their pick over Russell all along. Because there's parts
It's so
of
hard
me
to
that
tell
get,
Hinkie. I have no idea what he's doing. I never do.
he's just stacking big guys.
3, 2.
I think they did it because New York wants him and they're going to try to get something out of there.
I don't know if you guys or anyone listening or you, Phil, follow Ryan Nanny, Celebrity Hot Tub, but he just live checking on what the Sixers roster looks like, and he's got all those trees from Lord of the Rings walking out. There's a lot of size on Philly.
Yeah, no kidding.
Woj just tweeted, Sixers plan on keeping Okafor for good. He won't be auctioned in a trade.
Do you think they just play both him and Noel and sit Embiid? What's the extent of Embiid's injury?
I don't know. He just had another setback, so maybe he never plays.
Nice. All right, so let's jump on the next one. We have the New York Knicks. Is this just Moutier all the way in terms of personality, big guards, and Porzingis?
I still think they trade out of it.
You think they trade out of it?
Yeah, that's going to be my guess. If not, they draft Hazonia. I'm going to go for second shot there. Or Porzingis. Porzingis would be my other kind of.
I just don't see Porzingis in Philly. That's my problem.
You mean New York?
New York. I think he would get crushed.
Well, he did say he wants the Knicks to draft him and that they're the best franchise in the NBA. So based on that alone, he doesn't have a lot of intelligence, so they shouldn't draft him. But
well, I think, he probably just grows up hearing the New York Knicks, one of the most storied franchises in the NBA, and he can't help but be enamored with that. Yeah, I guess. I just think I could weirdly see him with Carmelo. I know it's weird, but I don't hate that fit.
Who's that? Sorry.
Porzingis.
No, that's not a terrible fit. I don't hate the fit at all. Sam Hinkie is building one hell of a volleyball team. That's good.
Sam Hinkie's a funny guy. I was just thinking in my head. Do you think any way the Knicks trade the number 4 for Nerlens Noel?
Oh. Yeah.
I don't think they're so enamored with Willie Cauley-Stein.
But that makes sense. That does make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's proven shot blocker, and then they just draft Moutier and walk away.
Oh, shit. They're taking Porzingis next.
Okay, so I guarantee you that talk with Phil Jackson was a promise. Man, the Magic have to be super angry. They really wanted Porzingis to play their 5.
Oh, yeah. Huh. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So that's interesting, guys. So that basically means that if the Knicks take Porzingis, that's going to be a big guy who runs and shoots. I'm so blown away that they took him only after getting burnt by Andrea Bargnani. Oh, that could be the ultimate front court. Imagine Bargnani, with Porzingis and Melo. The land of 0D.
Yep, that would be.
It's totally shaking it up, though. Like, is it official yet?
What's that?
Is it official yet, Porzingis?
Not official, but Woj tweeted, so yeah.
Woes knows.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So Porzingis to the Knicks. So the Magic have to go for Herzonia if that happens, right? With Aaron Gordon sliding to the 4.
Yeah, I guess so. Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be really weird what they decide to do with Noel or Embiid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I got to go away. 1 second.
No problem. It's just such a weird fit because the 76. So what we were talking about before is pennies on the dollars. So essentially, the 76ers are going to have Nerlens Noel, Joel Embiid, and Jahlil Okafor, who are all 4s and 5s, really 5s. So everyone in the league knows they have to trade away one of them. So when you have to trade something away, it's like you have no selling power. So I just wonder if that's the smartest way for Sam Hinkie to have built, unless some team. But the thing is, if they trade Noel, he's proven last year, second half of the season, he was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. And ability to defend multiple positions, very laterally quick in the modern NBA. He's kind of a legit center. So some teams could be looking at him. I think the Bucks would love him, but who do they get back? Like a Chris Middleton? There's not enough there. I just thought it was interesting. I thought passing on Moutier, to me, was a bit of a mistake for Philly. I think Moutier is going to end up being one of the better players in this draft. Might eat my words for that one, but so far, Karl Anthony Towns, number 1. I think it's the right pick. D'Angelo Russell. I don't think it's the wrong pick. I'll say it that way. I think they could have gone a bunch of different ways, but I think overall, especially with the money they have and the cap space and the free agents that are out there, he makes the most sense. 76ers, I don't think anyone pretended they were going to make any sense, and I guess it was just too good to have them fall. So it was kind of funny how 2 years in a row they draft a center who fell out of what was the number 1 position. And then you have the Knicks, who, by all accounts, really wanted Jahlil Okafor. And now, has a pick been official? We'll check this guy out. So not just yet. Knicks with this. Okafor to Philly. So still a bit of a deciding factor, but there was a meeting between Phil Jackson and Kristaps Porzingis a little while ago, and I think that was a promise. I think the Knicks know that they're going to spend some money and get back in the playoffs fairly soon, so they won't be in this position. So you take the guy with the highest ceiling, and at this point, Porzingis probably is that guy, but it really throws the rest of the draft into kind of a tailspin when you look at where Orlando's going to be. Orlando really wanted Porzingis. Does Super Mario Hazonia go to 5 and then some other guys drop? It's a bit of a weird one. I don't know if anyone would have expected it to drop exactly like this. Although I'm really happy for Towns. I just think that's the one. Although if you're Kobe, this is the pick that probably appeases you the most. It doesn't make you have to be the ball handler, good passer, good shooter. And Russell learning under Kobe is going to be a really, really good thing. So we're just hearing some tweets here about the 76ers and Jahlil Okafor. They're saying how he's a great passer, not great in the pick and roll defender, not a great rim protector, but he's a great offensive player. Which is interesting because I guess the 2 guys they've taken before, being Embiid and Noel, more known for their defense. Noel has a bit of a jump shot, but that could be one of the more interesting front courts going forward, Jahlil Okafor and Embiid, depending how that lies. It's going to be a funny one. We're going to have to see what Woj is doing here. The Knicks. Let's refresh this guy. Did they officially take him? Sorry, I'm going between 100 screens here. Let's check this out. All right. Haven't officially yet. All signs point to Porzingis. Woj is rarely wrong. If you guys don't know who he is, by the way, try to get you his Twitter handle here. Adrian Wojcinski, I think it is. I'll have this in 2 seconds for you. So it looks like the Knicks took Porzingis, people thinking that they took him to force Orlando into a trade. So Orlando did really want him. Kind of an interesting pick. So it looks like Orlando is likely to take Mario Hezonja because of this. I just can't believe Moutier is falling like this. I just don't get it. I think he's going to be really good. Jahlil Okafor, I think he'll be nice. Part of me sees some Tim Duncan in him. Part of me sees Al Jefferson, and I'm not sure which one in between. And everyone's just waiting for all these trades to happen that haven't happened just yet. Jahlil Okafor does have one NBA-ready skill beyond his low post scoring. It is huge hands, and it's weird, but ever since Kawhi Leonard's come into the league and killed it, we've seen Noah Vonleh. Guys with big hands tend to really jump up. So the Porzingis pick, it is official. We have Orlando on the clock. So let's see what Orlando's doing. Everything's pointing to Super Mario. And a lot of people saying wouldn't be surprised if Porzingis is traded. It'd be interesting to see what they can get from Orlando, because I honestly think that's where it goes. You go to Orlando, you trade Porzingis, you get the number 5 pick, take the player you wanted anyways, like a Moutier, and maybe you pull someone else. Because we know that Orlando is not going to take Moutier. There's too much in that backcourt with Elfrid Payton and the rest of their backcourt. It just doesn't make any sense. This team is confusing me, Knickerbockers. I just don't feel he's gonna stay there. There's something about it that just. Actually, it's kind of funny. They just put him in New York Knicks uniform. Kind of looks like a Cole Aldrich. And Michael Grange tweeting, the Knicks should re-sign Bargnani so he can mentor Porzingis. This is just going to be some running joke unless they trade him. Second round with his picks. So I don't think this is the place Orlando wanted to be at all. Orlando really, really wanted Porzingis. I think Mario Hezonja makes sense, but it's going to make Aaron Gordon have to play the 4, which I think he can. But to me, I'm like, is Hezonja a big enough scorer? Oh, sorry?
I said howdy.
Howdy.
You saw the Hezonja news, right?
Is he officially taken?
Yeah, he's going 5 to Magic.
Okay, cool. So why don't you tell these people while I turn on the light to give me a little more light here what Hezonja is going to bring to the Orlando Magic.
He's someone that can play at the 2 or the 3. Obviously, with the presence of Elfrid Payton and Victor Oladipo, you would slide Hezonja over to the 3. 6'8", tons of athleticism, can jump out of the gym. Very, 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 very confident player.
Almost too confident?
I don't know. He's got a lot of skill. He's somebody that if he sees somebody trying to block his shot, he's going to win no dunk on him. That's just his character. And he's got a fantastic jumper, very quick jumper, not afraid to shoot. Very high release point, which comes with both his great length and his athleticism. The question with the Magic was who's going to score. I think they got their answer here with Hezonja. I think within 2-3 years, he's going to be the top scorer on Orlando. And a great running mate for both Oladipo and Elfrid Payton, who have really good vision.
And I think this works well for Aaron Gordon. I think the 4 ultimately is his better position.
I agree. I can't see him playing 3.
No, although his shot has gotten a bit better, but absolutely. Now, Sacramento has to take Moutier, correct?
Yeah, I think so. He slipped a bit. As much as I'm not really high on him, they need a point guard. That's a great fit.
And if you have Moutier and Cousins, that's a nice building block. Although I'm just shocked that there's so many Bargnani jokes happening right now.
Oh, King, take a guess who the Kings are drafting.
Oh, not Winslow.
Nope. A center.
Cauley Stein?
Yes, sir.
Wow. I kind of get it, to be honest, in ways. I'm still way dark here, but Cauley Stein.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Man, that front office is the worst. All right, back in the flesh. Sorry, I just had to improve the visual quality there. I was like turning into Knight Rider. Cauley Stein, what is happening? So
King's going to King. That's the only explanation there. I think it's pretty safe to say with Cauley Stein going there. I think Kaminsky's going to go to Charlotte.
Oh, please, Moutier fall to Detroit, please.
Well, that'd be fun. Although we got Reggie Jackson and Brad.
I don't care. Peace. Bye.
Fair. And that's your boy. That's your boy, Reggie Jackson.
I know, but play him at the 2. Who cares?
He's 5'0".
Reggie Jackson is 6'2". There's so many point guards with Jennings there as well. So a quote from Russell, I try to stand out wherever I go and be that star. That's a great thing to do with Kobe Bryant. I think those two are weirdly going to hate each other.
Who's that?
D'Angelo Russell just says he's going to be the star wherever he goes.
I mean,
Cauley Stein. See, so you're playing Cauley Stein at the 4, right? Essentially.
Well, you're probably still trading Cousins, but yeah, if you don't, he plays at the 4.
Just trade Cousins for Porzingis. Just get it over with. Man, this is a weird NBA draft. I thought Stein was really going to fall.
Suns are in aggressive pursuit of moving up in the draft to draft Frank Kaminsky. I've been talking for this.
Please draft him. So the teams I like don't. Please, every one of the teams I don't like, go get your Frank Kaminsky. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, that'd be a really good fit for the Suns because Kaminsky. I think you'll like this comparison, but I think he's Channing Frye.
Sure, and so are the Morris twins. Whatever.
No, they're not.
Whatever.
Channing
The
Frye
Suns aren't going to do anything, and you know it. They screwed everything when they got rid of Dragic, and that was their weird little backcourt was.
That was a good trade. Brandon Knight's better than Dragic.
I just don't think that Brandon Knight and Eric Bledsoe play well together.
No, they're going to trade Bledsoe.
Yeah. All right. So, has it been official yet? The Kings?
No, just more official.
Just the Woj.
Oops.
Huh. Okay, so who do we got left? Okay. So next would be does Denver pass on Moutier for Winslow?
Maybe. I could see
Wouldn't
that.
that be a really weird team, Winslow and Kenneth Faried? I mean, they probably won't keep him, but
Wesley Shear, Sixers writer. Silver linings, Jamal will prefer his legs that are not injured.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Oh man, I'm so confused at this draft.
Well, it's
Like I
made
get
sense.
Cauley Stein with Cousins to make up for the defense, I guess. But again, how do you pass up a point guard?
Cousins is legitimately a good defender now too.
Okay, so, if you are like if you're the Nuggets and you go with Winslow, maybe people agree with you, sure. Like if you're Detroit, do you really look outside of Winslow? I mean, sorry, outside of Moutier?
I'd probably go with Moutier because they have to trade Ty Lawson. And Woj just tweeted that the Nuggets will draft Mando Moutier. So that answers that. But, I mean,
I don't think I can hear you that well.
But yeah, Moutier.
Give me a second to try to fix this up. Tell me. All right, I fixed you. Sorry about that.
All good, buddy.
Perfect. All right.
So you heard Moutier to Denver, right?
No, I didn't, but I was fixing the sound there, but that makes sense. So yeah. Obviously Lawson's gone.
Okay, so where do you see the ideal landing spot for Ty Lawson?
Honestly, New York. I think he makes a lot of sense with that team. If not, Sacramento would be a good fit at this point. Like, I think with the George Karl thing, but I don't think Boogie Cousins fits George Karl style. So it would have to be a team that would kind of want to win pretty soon, that's lacking a point guard. Houston? The Rockets?
Oh, got one. Utah.
Oh, no, I love my Utah guards. Don't do that to me.
They need a veteran point guard because they're ready to win now.
Their average age is like 16.
Who's that? What?
Their average age is like 16, the Jazz.
Right, but they're ready to win now. They have a top defense already. I don't like Trey Burke at all. I trade Trey Burke. Trey Burke and someone other than Exum, Alex Burks, and the Bigs. Basically give Denver a run of the mill there. Maybe even their first round pick this year. Yeah, trade the first round pick this year.
Yeah, they've got the number 12 pick. They have the cap room.
Yeah, they can 12 and Trey Burke for Ty Lawson. And let's say something else from Denver. I'm not sure what Utah's cap situation's like, but if they can absorb Wilson Chandler, throw Wilson Chandler in there as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because you really don't need another 4 or 5.
Correct. Like I think if you're rolling out Kyle Lawson, Alec Burks, Wilson Chandler, Favors, Gobert, and then you have Dante Exum coming in off the bench. That's pretty damn good. Like,
no, absolutely.
You're pushing for a playoff spot in the West.
And you know what? If you're Denver, this is kind of the ideal situation. Moutier, top pick. You can trade your assets, get something back. I mean,
and it's officially Cauley Stein to the Kings.
So Winslow can go to Detroit.
Yep.
They wanted Draymond Green. They could get Winslow.
I mean, not like those two are the same player in any way, shape, or form.
No, but they wanted a tough guy with character. And
well, if they want a character, Draymond Green isn't the right way to go.
well, he is a character. But do you think Cauley Stein and Cousins are they supposed to be friends from the time in Kentucky? No. I just think that's going to be some sort of a weird front court. It'll easily be one of the toughest front courts.
Who, the Kings?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, so I kind of get the Porzingis. Basically, Phil Jackson saying he fits the triangle well and all that.
Yeah. No, Porzingis makes a lot of sense. I thought that was the right pick.
I still think Sacramento goofed on not taking Moutier, but
I'm not high on Moutier. I think Cauley Stein's going to be a really great player. So it makes no sense in the fact that it's weird, but I think Cauley Stein is the better prospect than Moutier.
Well, see, it's interesting. We've seen some stuff showing how we can change. Sorry, that was a bit echo again there. But people say it's not consistent. So a guy like Cauley Stein, if he can develop that shot a bit more, and he was saying how he wasn't asked to do it in Kentucky, but he's capable. If he can bring a bit of stretch and D next to Cousins, like that's awesome, right?
Guess who the Pistons drafting? Guess who the Pistons are taking?
Well, I'm going to say not Winslow based on your reaction.
Yeah.
Oh, is it my man from Texas?
Nah, Arizona.
Oh, they took Stanley.
Yep.
Such not a fan. Can he shoot the three even?
I'm not too sure.
That's a brutal pick. Stan Van Gundy, what are you doing? So Charlotte has to pass up on. Oh, Charlotte could have had Winslow and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
Okay.
Oh, does this mean Winslow can go to the Heat? That's dirty.
Wait, why would Charlotte not draft Winslow?
Because they're going to get Frank the Tank Kaminsky, man.
I don't think they anticipated Winslow being on the board.
I guess. Yeah, because you can put Winslow next to Batum. Yeah. Okay, so who's sliding so far? Let's check out some of this. Let me get the big board going there. I'm trying to see who's. Do you want to stop it at OKC at 14 at the lottery, or you want to go first?
Yeah, that works for me.
Sorry?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. All right, so let's
I really am rooting for Winslow to Charlotte now because him and Kidd-Gilchrist together is terrifying.
Although I think still Devin Booker, Stanley Johnson. Why Stanley Johnson? Are you a fan of Stanley Johnson in any shape or form?
No. I mean, he might be an okay rotation player, but I was probably higher on Caldwell Pope coming into the NBA.
I'm really, really hoping that OKC can land Miles Turner. I think that would be one of those like swing for the fences, but it can work out. So is there someone, while we wait for the next pick, that you think the Raptors legitimately can get that would be really good? Like, do you really like this Rondé Hollis Jefferson guy?
Love him. Absolutely love him.
So if he was a Raptor, you'd be happy for the Raptors.
I'd be happy for the Raptors. I desperately, desperately, desperately want him to slide to Cleveland. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he goes at 15.
Maybe. Well, he can't shoot, so he's going to slide. I can't believe they went for Stanley Johnson over Justice Winslow. It's just like to me, it's a huge shock.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all.
But if the Hornets traded for Batum, Michael Carter win. No.
Batum at small ball 4?
Yeah, sure. You have no shot blocking then, but
no, especially with Al Jefferson there. Yeah, Charlotte's. Yeah. I don't know.
So Mark Stein's reporting amongst scenarios Celtics and Hornets have been discussing. Sources say potential swapping of Boston's 16 and 28 for Charlotte's 9. Which would make sense. Boston Winslow. I could see
that. Someone fake tweeted Woj, John Krolik. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but chatter is that the Hornets are looking at a wing with their pick as Michael Kidd-Gilchrist will die on October 22nd, 2016. Woj knows all.
I'm just looking at this picture of Cauley Stein and Cousins just screaming, and I'm just like, it's going to be such an intense front court. So Phil Jackson said that Porzingis' body type and skill set reminds him of a young Pau Gasol.
Not the comp that I would go for, but okay, that's not really wild.
Well, I think Pau had a bit better of a post game, but
yeah, and Porzingis is a little more athletic.
All right.
Winslow to the sheet if he slips that much would be ridiculous. Oh. Yeah, Charlotte might be trailing that pick. I see that. Okay.
Okay, so officially, where are we standing at the last pick?
Moutier just got drafted. Detroit Pistons on the clock. We know it's going to be Stanley Johnson.
I really hope everyone's wrong and it's Winslow. I really hope that.
I've seen some people that seem to think Stanley Johnson is better.
Because of his size? Like that's sure, I'll give you that, but well, it gets into that point of the draft where there's no more stars, so you get some interesting picks. So they're on the board. Would you have envisioned before this started Willie Cauley-Stein being drafted before Emmanuel Mudiay?
What's that?
Could you have envisioned before tonight Willie Cauley-Stein being drafted ahead of Emmanuel Mudiay? Because to me, that's
I think I like him better. Like in the mock draft that we did, I had Cauley-Stein going 4th to the Knicks.
That's fair.
If you remember.
So they kind of went the complete reverse.
It sounds like Boston or Phoenix. They're in a bidding war right now. So if it's Phoenix, see, I'm wondering what Charlotte would get in return because Phoenix has been very willing to move Eric Bledsoe, but I can see that. Kemba Walker, Eric Bledsoe, Michael
That is
Kidd-Gilchrist.
tiny. That's way smaller than Bledsoe and Dragic was.
Well, I think you look to move Kemba then. And you go Bledsoe, Michael
You have all these
Kidd-Gilchrist,
tiny point guards on the market. Like suddenly you now have Rajon Rondo, Ty Lawson, and him all in the market.
Yeah. Huh.
It's just so funny, right? Because the whole it'd be so funny if that Ty Lawson and Fareed for Cousins thing actually happened, like Carl wanted.
Yeah.
Because at this point, if they did that, you'd be pairing Moutier with Cousins on Denver. Although that would make no sense. You have Cauley Stein in. That front court would score no points in Sacramento. How did, according to CBS Sports, the Nuggets only got a grade B for drafting Emmanuel Moutier at 7? How's that only a B?
Maybe they're as low a Moutier as I was.
Such a hater, man. I just think at that position, I don't know. I don't get it. This is going to be this is already going to be a really busy offseason. This has just turned it into something crazier because you potentially could have a lot of guys being pushed out of position and out of place because of all these picks.
Yep. I love the NBA because it never ends.
And if you guys are wondering why we're always looking down, this is we're in Twitterverse here, keeping guys updated. Because I think this is where this all begins. I think the trades are just going to build and build.
Yeah, typically in drafts, once you get to about 9 or double digits, then you know for sure that that's when the trades start going. Those are the picks that people are more willing to part with. If the Heat, Die Joseph tweeted out, if the Heat get Winslow, Pat Riley is confirmed Illuminati.
Okay, so there's this tweet by Brett Polikoff saying, Oakfor said, open quote, Joel Embiid texted me last night saying, see you in Philly, close quote.
Well, that's something.
Well, that's kind of writing on the wall for Noel at that point, no?
Yeah. Noel's the one that's got trade value. I don't think Embiid has that, even though he is the better prospect theoretically.
Well, I mean, it worked out well, right? Because Noel was really coming on the second half of the season last year.
Yeah.
And he could get them a fair bit.
I think so.
So are we Stanley Johnson official, or are they still waiting on that?
Yeah, Stanley Johnson is just walking on the stage now, shaking Silver's hand.
All right, so we can pass on Detroit. Another wasted draft pick for Detroit.
Who the fuck is Oh, if anybody follows me on Twitter, this cocksucker might not even have a fucking green card. Get the fuck out of here! Fuck ass this kid.
I'm guessing this is a New York Knicks reaction.
I'm about to retweet a Knicks fan losing his mommy.
So I'll take it that not all Knicks fans are super pleased.
No. This particular Knicks fan is pretty concerned that Porzingis does not even have a grading card. That might be one of the funnier meltdowns I've ever seen.
Nice. So I'm reading from RealGM.com. Apparently, teams aren't trusting the outside shooting of Justice Winslow. That's maybe why he's slipping.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was really hoping to be a Pistons fan, and Stanley Johnson just hurts me. And I don't think I can be a Philly fan until I realize that they have a team and not just a collection of volleyball players.
Yeah, I warned you about Pinky. That's on you.
I know, it's my bad.
Oh man. That Knicks fan freak is the best.
Well, okay, you know if it's not an American player, the Knicks fans are going to crush them, right?
Exactly.
So, like, I'm sure, I guarantee you very few Knicks fans actually looked into Porzingis.
Yeah. That's a very safe bet.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of that's an interesting comp. Winslow sliding to 10 is similar to Ron Butler sliding to 10 back in the day.
Yeah, and that worked out really well for them.
Yep.
Well, he's kind of their insurance policy in case Wade leaves, right? Actually, that can create a interesting three-man rotation there, especially play some small ball three when Deng comes out.
Yeah.
He's kind of one of those guys that for championship contender, landing him as a draft pick, because he's probably ready right away.
Yeah, I think so.
And I thought outside of the injuries and I thought last year outside of the injuries, Miami could have been a contender with Whiteside, Deng, Bosch, Wade, like
Dragic.
Exactly. I really like that backcourt of Wade and Dragic.
Kaminsky at 9 is what Mark Stein is hearing, and Winslow to Miami at 10.
That's such a steal for Miami. Such a steal. And I'm so happy that Kaminsky's going to Charlotte. Not because I think it's a good fit. I'm just really happy that I get to see my favorite players go to other teams that are not Charlotte on a purely selfish reason. So, come on, OKC. You can do it. I believe in you, OKC. So we have the Heat. That's got to be Winslow for sure. Ooh, it gets interesting. The Pacers. Do you have to take Miles Turner? Or are you going somewhere else?
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Sorry?
I think man, why am I whiffing on the name? Is it Booker? Yeah. That would make some sense. They need shooting. They really need shooting.
So Brandon Jennings apparently was happy with the pick. I imagine so. He didn't get replaced.
Well, I mean, it also means for sure that Greg Monroe's gone, right? Oh, yeah. So that's the other thing we didn't discuss. Greg Monroe to the Knicks is basically a done deal. So really? I guess you go Monroe, Porzingis, and Melo as your front court?
This is after you saying that Melo needs to play the 4, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Kaminsky at 9 to the Hornets.
Okay, so you're hearing that it's a done deal in terms of Monroe, the Knicks.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
The Pistons are going to be terrible. Who's going to score on that team? Reggie Jackson.
Stanley Johnson.
You think Stanley Johnson's going to score a lot?
I'm kidding. It'll probably be Brandon Jennings averaging 50.
So CBS Sports gave Detroit a B+ for that draft.
That's about right.
I think people are bigger fans of Stanley Johnson than myself. So to run down the list, CBS's grades, they gave, not surprisingly, Towns an A+, D'Angelo Russell A+, Jalil for A-, Porzingis A, Herzonia A, Cauley-Stein A+. The lowest draft grade was actually Moutier, to your point.
Yeah.
Stanley Johnson, B plus. Come on, please.
Yeah,
please.
Miami Heat will select Justice Winslow 10th overall.
So it sounds like the writer wasn't actually a big fan of passing on Winslow. He just thought it was still a good fit.
Yep.
Long wingspan. Play a lot of, you know what? The thing is, Detroit's going to be really tough now with Stanley Johnson and Andre Drummond and Ilyasova. I just feel they lack star power in terms of scoring.
I agree.
Although a guy who would really do well there, depending how you played him, is Danilo Gallinari. I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
The Stanley Johnson system requires you to shoot, which is a bit surprising on some of these picks. But yeah, I can't see. So it's official in the bag. So Frank Kaminsky. Who would have thought Frank Kaminsky would get drafted and Stanley Johnson before Justice Winslow?
No idea.
This is why we watch the draft, guys. This is it's just maddening.
Wild.
So it looks like so happy that Frank's in Charlotte because everyone hates it and I love it. The Justice Winslow, that's just such a steal for them. That's so good.
Yeah.
So I think Michael Jordan has to be, like, if you have to say all-time worst executives, he's top 3 for me.
Yeah, I'd be up there. I mean, David Kahn probably has that title.
I bet you they're friends on some level.
Yeah.
They just hang out and have hamburgers. And everyone's just making fun of
Charlotte. And time to bug my hunter.
So at 11, Indiana. Where do you go?
Miles Turner.
Yeah, I agree. Sam Decker? Nah. Trey Lyles is interesting, though, next to Paul George. And if you keep Hibbert. Because if you take Turner, you're essentially trading Hibbert. So now another guy can go on the block.
Yeah, true.
Like Trey Lyles would be interesting. Cameron Payne probably less. Devin Booker to stretch the floor. I think he's gonna. Oh, he'd be interesting in OKC.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know what's interesting though? Chad Ford's big board.
Yeah.
1, 2. He's been right 5. He called everything at the first 4 picks. Then at 5, Moutier started slipping because Cauley-Stein jumped from 8 to 5, and Winslow took. But he's not that off. He had Devin Booker pretty high. So Devin Booker looks like one of those guys who's taking a bit of a slide.
So Will was just tweeting that Indy's deciding between Trey Lyles, Cameron Payne, and Miles Turner. Miles Turner is the favorite so far.
I would have to agree. I think, look, it depends what you want to do, but I think they have enough talent at every position. I think you could even play. I think you could even play Miles Turner as a 4
now that David West left, right?
Exactly, but if you want traditional 4, do you maybe want Lyles a bit more?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm really, really hoping that Kelly Oubre falls to the Raptors.
That'd be something. Oh, Frank has tanks on the inside of his jacket.
He's going to be the worst, I promise you.
Ugh.
That team is going to be the slowest, most boring team. Okay, so if you're Indiana, where are you going? I'm going to. Yeah.
That's my move.
I agree. Because at 11, it stops being such a risk, right? It starts being that point where, you know, some people had him listed as a top 5 guy on certain boards.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is something interesting, guys. The last 3 years for the Hornets, Cody Zeller, Noah Vonleh, Frank Kaminsky. So apparently they can't get this stretch 4 right. Trying to do this over and over again. And sorry if any of you guys are Hornets fans out there. They might be good, maybe. They have my man Batum. I like him, so I'm kind of rooting for you guys that way. I love how Justice Winslow is to the Heat. If they can keep their guys, I promise you guys. Sorry, I'll sit up so it's a bit more attentive. I promise you guys, the Heat are going to be really good. Hassan Whiteside with the healthy Chris Bosh is going to provide length. Deng is going to be absolutely fantastic, and being able to throw in Winslow at times. Let's see where we land here. In case you're wondering why it's always going back to Justin's TV, Justin's screen, he's going. He's watching the live game, not the game, the draft. I'm trying not to do that to keep the feed nice and fresh for you. Wow, Justice Winslow. That was such a shocker. So Heat executive basically saying that they thought that he'd be gone at pick number 4 to the Knicks. Yeah, everyone's just loving Winslow to the Heat. It's just such a good pick. It's almost strange that he slid that much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I think the upside is tremendous. You're talking about a guy.
Sorry, let me turn that sound off when I find it.
Which is very rare for young bigs.
So I know for most people, everyone watched the draft for the top 3-4 picks, but this one, I'm telling you, Miles Turner, I really want to see where he lands. Sorry, so much happening at once. So many sources for you guys. Perfect, got rid of that. All right, Frank Kaminsky, Justice Winslow, and Pacers still deciding. Let's look to the Twitterverse. Thank you guys for keeping up with us. Been doing this since 6:30. It's now 8:40. How much we love the draft. We do this for hours. So it looks like Miles Turner is going to the Pacers at 11. Very good pick. Jazz looking at Sam Decker, Bobby Portis.
Miles Turner to Indy.
Yeah, I just saw that. I'm just still so shocked at the Winslow to Miami. Like sorry for harping on it. I just think that it was amazing.
Yeah. Nice replacement for Wade when he leaves.
Absolutely. And getting to play and have, you know, the tutelage of Dwayne Wade, and well, if he stays.
Well, not. Yeah, if he stays.
I just really want to watch a Minnesota Timberwolves Summer League game like right now.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. Utah Jazz are listing trade offers for number 12 at the moment.
Yeah, because realistically, they don't need anything. They're a deep team that has youth. I don't know. I think I'd do it as well. I don't think there's. I don't think there's anyone who's really just. I'm dying to have.
No, we're outside that range.
Yeah.
Booker is kind of enticing, but if I'm Utah, I either take Payne or I trade out of it.
Yeah. Okay, so what we've seen so far, what would you say is the biggest surprise pick?
Stanley Johnson. That surprised me the most so far. It makes sense, but that really shocked me.
I'm a bit surprised they didn't take Miles Turner. Like, if they knew that Monroe's going, having Turner next to Drummond could make some sense.
I really see Turner as a center, though.
But Drummond's a fairly mobile big, right? His lateral's very good.
That's true, but he can't score from less than 3 inches away from the basket.
Yeah, but that's why you have Turner to stretch it on offense. Like, defensively, you place Turner at center, and offensively, you play Turner at power forward. My eyes are like going numb. This is like 2 hours of staring at this giant screen. For you guys in the Hoops Lounge. So if you're going to shoot for the fences, I mean, can you think of a reason why you would take your boy Rhonda Hollis Jefferson over the upside of a Kelly Oubre?
Yeah, I can see it. Just because I think he's that much of a game changer. I really do think he's that good. Doesn't have the same upside, but I think he could end up being one of the better players, like a top 10 player in the draft.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, Trey Lyles is still out there. I actually think that Lyles would be a good Utah pick, to be honest. A big who can stretch the floor to sub in with their bigs.
Yeah, true.
And he's not a fancy guy. He'll be their sixth man. He even played some 3 in Kentucky. Allow them to play huge. I wonder where Sam Decker goes. I mean, if we're projecting these guys who are up next, so we've got the Jazz at 12 and 2 more till we're done the lottery and done for our night. So if you had to call it for the Jazz, who's your gut feeling here?
I'm back.
Okay. If you had to call it for the Jazz, who's your gut feeling there?
What's that?
If you had to call it for the Utah Jazz, who's your gut feeling?
Pain.
Yeah. So let's take gut feeling last 3 picks. So Payne, Suns.
Suns.
I'm saying Sam Decker.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, I like
Small
that.
forward.
It makes sense.
And then if you're OKC, going Oubre at that point? Or there's your man, Hollis, whatever.
Sounds like Woj is reporting that OKC is pushing to trade up with Utah.
I wonder who they'd want. Kevin Looney?
Apparently, their top options on their boards are still available. Top 3 options.
They had low expectations.
Realistic ones, I guess.
Yeah. I kind of like RJ Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kind of feel they have to go for a 2-guard, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at that point, your best guy would be Devin Booker out of Kentucky?
Was it Kentucky? Yeah.
It's basically him, or if you're sticking to for 2, Kelly Oubre, Rhonda Hollis Jefferson, RJ Hunter. I sneaky think RJ Hunter is going to be their guy.
That's interesting. I could see that. There's a lot of ways that they could go, so it is pretty interesting.
The Trey Lyles one's still interesting for them. Mm-hmm. Although they have enough bigs. Let's see what the Twitterverse is telling us. So many Turner haters.
And over 1 million units sold. Pure Sleep worked for me, and I recommend it to my patients. Common snoring is caused by the airway.
Come on, Thunder, do something.
No kidding.
Opening the airway so that the snoring stops. Just look at these CT scans of a person who snores. Then you can see the constricted airway.
Yeah, I really like. Oh, so CBS gives the Pacers Miles Turner a D.
Oh, rough.
I know.
You can't run.
So apparently, Thunder have targeted both Kelly Oubre and Cameron Payne, both available at 12 if deals can be made with Utah.
Pure Sleep is comfortable and guaranteed to stop your snoring right away. We'll let you try Pure Sleep for 30 days before you buy it. All you do is cover it.
Quote from D'Angelo Russell on Kobe. I'm really looking forward to him taking me under his wing and just feeding me knowledge. Let's hope that works out for you.
Utah Jazz are selecting Trey Lyles with the 12th pick in the NBA draft.
It's a good pick.
Yeah.
Visit puresleep.ca or call 1-800-641-0756.
This is a pretty deep draft now that you think about it, eh?
Yeah. So I don't think a lot of people are. I don't think people think Turner can play the 4 at all.
No, he's a center.
Kind of looks like Dwight Howard with his haircut.
In the last 32 years, so the Jazz trying to get back to that winning way that they have.
Merry Christmas from Devin Booker. Well, Devin Booker's still there, so it looks like Booker and Cameron Payne, so backup point guard or a two guard, are both going to be there, and Kelly Oubre. So, however the Suns go with this, looks like they're going to have some good picks there, being OKC. All right, let me get back here.
With the 12th pick in the 2015 NBA
Here we go live.
We've got Trey Lyles from Saskatoon, Canada, and the University of Kentucky.
First Canadian off the board.
Yes, sir.
Utah's kind of like Canada. Why not? Saskatoon, Utah. Who would have thought at the start of the draft that Miles Turner would be picked one place below Justice Winslow? Isn't that weird to you? A bit. Oh, is Justin frozen on us? Oh, Justin. Love you like a brother, but you're frozen and ice. All right, so let's keep up the gravy train here. So we're going to cover two more picks. One is the Phoenix Suns, and the last is the OKC City Thunder. Yes, there are 14 more teams that are going to pick, but it's been 2 hours and past the lottery. No one watches anyways, guys. So let's get just up to date, see what the latest verse is saying for us. So Trey Lyles, again, being the first Canadian this year. Saskatoon, I think it's a good pick. Good character guy. Stretch the floor. Good balance with Derek Favors. We play him through to Gobert inside outside. I think he adds that front court scoring. I thought they needed some more scoring. I actually really like this pick for them. Has great size. Is 6'10". But it looks like his shot's going to improve. And yes, Justin Rowan, oh, Canada indeed. Okay, so let's see where the Suns go in this situation with our friend, we'll call him Frozen Justin. Actually, he's not frozen. He's just taking a little nap. Let's open up the communication to see. You're not tapping out this early, buddy. We got to give the people what they want, and they want 2 more picks. So let's give them the invite again. And if you guys want, we'll have some open Google Hangouts down the road. Just in case. Home event. All right, so it looks like Justin's having some technical issues here, but we'll get him right back on track. All right, to get you guys caught up here in case you guys aren't watching one way or another. Congratulations, Canada. NBA Canada loves Trey Lyles. I think it's a fantastic pick, ability to stretch. So let's see where the Suns go. Suns, another one of those interesting teams that kind of need a lot of talent. They kind of win by committee. Let me just catch up here. Boom. So still no. So CBS giving Utah a terrible grade, grade D, saying you have favors. You want Millsap? You may want Millsap. Crowded front court. I think that's ridiculous. I think he's going to score. It's going to cost them nothing because he's on a rookie contract. And yeah, Millsap would cost them a lot of money. So I don't see the logic behind that whatsoever. Sorry, guys. I know it's getting late for all you guys who have been hanging out with us here at the lounge. We do appreciate. And so Frank Kaminsky saying he wants to silence his critics, which he's going to have a lot of. A lot of teams like Miles Turner, so people like the Miles Turner pick. Still waiting. Oh. Phoenix gets a sharpshooter. So it looks like Phoenix will select Devin Booker with the number 13th pick. Devin Booker was out of Kentucky. Great three-point shooter. Not much else, but makes a little bit of sense next to their guards, Brandon Knight and Eric Bledsoe. It probably means one of them are on their way out. I see we're being rejoined shortly by our man, Justin Rowan. I can see his picture. Not much else. Maybe having internet issues. But we shall see. So let's just get us back here. Sorry, guys, we're almost there. You guys have been through the marathon. You're doing well. I think there's a whole nother half of the first round and a second round. It's only you basketball nuts out there are going to want to join those ones. But we just back out of here. I have to refresh. So we still have the Suns on the board. But according to our man Woj, looking like they're getting a shooting guard, which, according to my accounts, probably means we're getting Kelly Oubre going to OKC. I would be kind of shocked if that wasn't the case. Or Rhonda Hollis Jefferson. RJ Hunter. Oh, there's so many. I don't even know where you'd go. Essentially, Oubre has the most upside of all the players left. But according to some people, he has no semblance of how to play the game. People are looking at as he's got the NBA body. He's long, athletic. He can jump and shoot. But the question is focus. And there's a lot of emphasis on that now. The focus on the game and, how much of how intent you are at improving and getting better. Kristaps Porzingis to New York. Oh, man. I hope he does well. He's a great guy, and he's a good player. I just think it's going to be tough. Let's see if our boy is back. Still only in memory or in picture. That's a good-looking picture, Justin Rowan. All right. Get back here. So Devin Booker and our last pick before we let you guys go. And again, appreciate y'all hanging out with us. So the OKC Thunder. I'm calling Oubre. I'm calling it for a while. I've been hoping for a while. Something tells me I'll be wrong, though. So let's see where we go. Satsi and Sunsi. Blah, blah, blah. People are up and down about the pick. Oh, the Bucks will take Grievous Vasquez into space, sending a future first and second round pick to the Raptors. Huh. Milwaukee Bucks are now going to have Grivis Vasquez and Michael Carter-Williams. That's a really weird backcourt.
Grievous Vasquez gone.
I know. I was just really hoping Lowry was gone.
With Vasquez, like as soon as I heard Milwaukee, my instant thought was for Tyler Ennis, but it doesn't appear like that's the case. First round pick and a
first round pick and a second round pick. But how does that make sense with Michael Carter-Williams? I guess because he can play a bit of the 2 and shoot.
Because Michael Carter-Williams isn't a basketball player. They're trying to trade him.
I feel. Oh, and there goes Toronto's chances of getting Kevin Durant.
Ah, yes. That's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow right there.
They're used to it. So Suns took Devin Booker, which makes sense. Bit of size, they can shoot with their 2 point guards. I think Winslow's going to be such a good fit. It's crazy. That future first is going to the Raptors. Comes from the Clippers, protected, 15-30. Really? I feel like that was a terrible trade for Grievous Vasquez.
Yeah, just picks. That's interesting.
I'm okay with that, but you have to be restarting.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm okay with. I thought their ceiling was pretty low. So now we just got our last pick. I'm calling. I haven't even seen it. I'm sticking on my guy, Kelly Oubre. Who do you think is going in this last pick? Don't say your guy. Come on.
It's Phoenix, right? Yeah, I think it's going to be Ronde.
So Doug Smith of the Raptors said, I shall reiterate, money in the summer is as much about trading into space as it is signing someone. What does that term mean to you, trading into space?
Trading into space, like trading into cap space.
So the Raptors are just, and Kyle Lowry tweets, it's a business, ...
Damn. He's not happy.
He's not going to be there.
If it weren't for Pierce, you'd be sleeping in separate beds. I'm watching 24/7 now, not just 12 and the 24. I know.
Honestly, though, I think for the Raptors, as much as they were enjoying the success, it should be understood that, they weren't going to make the finals with this team.
I agree. Or even the Eastern Conference Finals.
No.
OKC discussing trades at 14.
Come on for DeMarcus Cousins. Let's do it. So the Knicks measured Porzingis at 7'3" with shoes. So that makes sense. 233 pounds with 38-inch vertical.
Oklahoma City Thunder will select Cameron Payne.
The point guard out of. All right. Yeah, I get that. So 6'2" point guard at Michigan. Backup point guard. Makes sense. All right. Well, listen, we've been doing this for like 2 hours more, so we're gonna have to wrap up soon. So, what was one of your biggest pluses and one of your biggest minuses of this draft?
1 second. This might be big.
Okay.
Hang on.
Stretchboat cleaner has found errors in system. Please click this to fix your error.
Ty Lawson on video saying that he's going to Sacramento.
Wow. Yeah, but for what? I guess it could just be Ben McLemore kind of thing.
Yeesh. I think they want more than that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right, so who's your hero? Maybe not the most obvious hero, and who's the biggest flop of this draft so far?
Biggest flop is Kaminsky. Biggest hero. I like the Hazonia pick for the Magic. They needed a score desperately, and I think they got that.
Okay, so your hero was, sorry?
Hazonia to the Magic.
All right, so I think that's going to be a big win. And who do you think dropped the ball?
Charlotte. Passing up on Winslow is rough.
I'm going to agree with you with Charlotte, but I'm going to say Denver is my winner.
You have been selected to take part in an anonymous survey.
That's
Please
great.
take
Thank
a
you.
chair. And to say thank you, you will be covered.
I love how we're ending the show with prank phone calls.
Oh shit. Weird.
A weird what?
I said weird.
All right.
Weird that weird. Thunder taking Cameron Payne, another ball dominant guy. That's a little strange to me, but
Yeah, but they needed a backup point guard, and they don't want to pay him much, so rookie contract. All right, man. Well, listen, I think we've both been staring at these screens for too long. Let's go enjoy the rest of the day. And I want to thank everyone online who's watching. You've been troopers. We'll cut this up, and I'll give you all of it on our YouTube channel. So from Justin and myself, Phil, I want to thank you from the whole Hoops Lounge crew. Enjoy the day. Keep in the lounge.
thank you.